We've traveled a lot of miles.
We've traveled a lot of miles, and this is like the next leg of the copper journey, right? That's what we've been coining it, what you've been calling it, because the same garage you're in, has it been a year yet?
Yeah, it's been a year since inception, since the idea. But
Yeah.
our first meeting took place in like March.
Yeah, it was a
So
while
it's like
ago.
7-8 months.
I just remember it being really cold. In that first video we recorded, it was like cold. The coolest part about your first video is it did like organically numbers.
It was insane.
I think you had 5-figure views on YouTube and on Instagram, and pretty much everywhere we shared this video. It was only like, oh, like you got lucky on here, you got lucky on there. It's like pretty consistently. The platforms, the video did well. And I think that's when I knew, I was like, there's definitely something. Yes.
Yeah, so for me, the first video was the first video like I ever did. And then looking at the analytics and getting the feedback from you guys, from Matt, from Jay, and it's like, whoa, 5,000 views and overnight. And it was like crazy. And it just kept going and going and going. And then it's like followers come, comments come, and it's like, wow, you inspired me. Thank you. You just inspired me to finish this project that I've been working on for 3 years. Like, I appreciate you.
There's something about doing things with your hands, especially in, nowadays when everything is digital or on a computer or whatever, where you're actually going to a place physically, not just any place, a scrapyard where it's really dirty, nasty, you're picking things out, basically restoring them. Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, your career has mostly been around scrapping, right?
Yeah, for the last 15 years thereabout.
And basically what you've done, Greg, is you kind of found a different way to kind of engage in that career, where at one point, traditional scrapping, very blue collar, collect whatever you can, sell it, whatever. And instead of doing that, you're looking at it a little different, where you say, oh, maybe instead of selling this raw, I will make something out of it. And that's effectively what brought you here.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it was just unlocking the creativity side.
What do you think, like, what was like the switch one day? Because I don't know, was this like an idea in your head for a really long time, or was it just you were looking one day and suddenly it was like, hey, this would be cool to do something else?
Best way to describe it was probably just a volcano, a ticking time bomb, just waiting to erupt. And it was just, whether it be year after year, sitting at that table where I had the idea and it just kicked me in the ass and said, go. The time is now. And timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
So mentally, I was in a pretty good headspace where I was able to commit to this, spiritual rebirth.
It's interesting, man, because I wouldn't, and I think a lot of people in your industry, because the one thing I learned from the first video is you're going to get all kinds of people who just kind of perceive you, right? They just see you. You don't know who they are. Maybe you do know who you are. Everything, you'll never know what one view is on the internet when you have however many views, but you'll get all opinions. But what was like that first exposure like, where you're just like, holy crap, I'm out here, people are watching, and everyone's got opinions? Because you're right, you got a lot of support, get a lot of haters, and you got like kind of friends and family. Like, that's a lot to kind of take in.
It's all new, so aside from convincing myself that I could become this artist, now you're getting kind words, great feedback, inspirational stuff, and then you're getting some haters, and then you're getting some electrical contractors that are telling me about switchgear that they used to, disassemble 5 years ago when they worked for the IBW. And, when the people out there recognize the material and we start engaging about the specifics of where it came from and other stuff, that's really, really a lot of fun for me.
I think you end up motivating a lot of people who see what you do because, and forgive the term, I just think it's kind of an appropriate term. There's kind of like this romantic part about what you're doing, where it's like there's every blue collar man who's working these jobs who, smelling all the oil, smelling all the gas, all the nasty stuff. They're getting dirty. And they probably never even think about like, oh, let me repurpose this. But then a guy like you comes in who has had that epiphany moment, and suddenly, yeah, you're inspiring people where there's like, oh, wow, yeah, there was this piece that came off of here. And this piece came off of something that was in this location, which has been the case since 1950, whatever arbitrary thing. And that's like really unique to someone who's breaking this stuff down that no one will ever know about. So now you've added an extra dimension where you find this unique piece, and suddenly that piece doesn't just get melted up and put into bulk or whatever happens to it, or chopped up.
Tells a story.
Tells a story.
Right.
So what's like, because you've mentioned a few where you've had a couple pieces and you're like, oh, this piece came from this. And
right. Well, before going into the nostalgia of, where some of these pieces have come from, inspiring not just the blue collar guys, but at 45 years old, almost, I had this spiritual awakening and stripped myself down and built myself back as this artist, convinced that I could be successful as an artist. So, once you peel the onion back a couple more layers, it's not just blue collar, it's anyone later on in life that either has something that's been on their mind that they've wanted to do for quite some time, and, life is short. And the regrets, regrets are a killer. And so many people get into the later stages of their life saying, I wish I did. And I couldn't do that. Once the creative juices were flowing, I immersed myself in it and manifested designing one-of-a-kind pieces that had historic value that might get the interest of a museum or some of these other high-profile types of places that tying the story to it would create an opportunity.
Another big itch in what you like that's being scratched for everyone in what you just said is I just think manufacturing and just creating something in the U.S. for something that's been in the U.S. That's another thing that's been missing.
Right.
Because I think industry and all that stuff is so important, right? It's the history of where we live, but it's probably almost the most foreign concept right now to people. You don't see a lot of industrial plants unless you go out to the Midwest, but you're keeping that sort of mentality alive, which is really important. To me, actually, it's actually what makes me the most interested. When we've gone to some of the scrap yards and just seen some of the businesses where you will get materials from,
right,
that stuff is really amazing.
Like, you hear the story where it came from.
Bro, the past couple scrap yards have been guys with 100-year-old businesses passed down from families. I can't tell you where I see that anywhere in the U.S. right now. That's incredible.
And those are the exciting places for us to go. And we've traveled a lot of miles over the last 7 months, and there's a lot more coming.
I've seen the switches go off for some of those guys we go into too, where it's every single day they see these scrap yards that they're walking through. It's their backyards. I'm sure they're not thinking about art when they see it. You come in, you talk to them about it, and suddenly it's like, I guess that is pretty interesting. But you don't know when you see it every day.
And again, that's part of the journey. We were first in Pittsburgh back in April of last year.
Yeah.
Where I met with them for the first time and planted seeds in terms of, this is the vision that I have. I want to create this marketplace of recycled materials available to the masses. Not just me, but other artists. And told them what my vision was, and they thought I was nuts. And fast forward, here we are. And they've been along for the journey. And there's a handful of other scrap yards that I started shopping at back in like October, November last year. And, they've seen my catalog. And they've recognized some of the pieces of copper that were used because I picked them from their yard, which is pretty wild.
The fact that those guys know their inventory like that is also something that kind of astounds me. Because you're talking like kind of, not obscure things, but like, kind of little pieces when you're talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of yards worth of.
But that's just a testament to the pieces I'm looking for. is that I'm going in hunting, searching for the most unique ones that even if, 5 months worth of material have come through the door, they're still going to recognize that piece.
There's almost too much, like my brain is about to jump out of my skull.
Let it out, come on.
Because the thing is, I'm thinking about just the fact that we went to one of the scrapyards and the guy's name was Gregg Epstein, 2Gs, same everything. That's nuts. But let me just not get on that. Let's put a pause on that. Because it's something he said that I was like, I think I saw a comment about this. Not that I'm trying to like address the haters, but I think it's an interesting note. And I have the context because I've been able to go on the copper journey with you to kind of see the stuff firsthand. One of a kind industry is a real thing.
Right.
You could find buckets full of it. It's still one of a kind because for several reasons. You're in the scrapyard that has been an ecosystem within itself for 100 years. You're talking to a guy who knows the exact pieces you're finding in a pile somewhere. And while you have buckets full of them, you had to go in there, pull them out, have the thought in mind to say, well, it's going to turn into this. And then suddenly now it's a finished product. Like, it is truly one of a kind. I think it's hard for people to really understand what you mean by that, though.
I have something sitting in one of these buckets that I want to try and find.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, find it. I could kind of monologue for a minute because I think the things that you do find, they look like common pieces, but they're coming off of things that you break down, or not that you break down, that have gotten broken down.
I got it right here.
Perfect. And then you are making the decision if it's worth it or not. And I love that you picked up what looks like the most simple piece in the world, but is actually what?
Yeah, so here we go. That's a pretty large bolt that we picked up when we were in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I only grabbed 4 of these, and I need 12 for a design I came up with.
This is like it's like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah. So we need to go back to Pittsburgh to get more of these. And I probably won't get 12. I'll take as many as possible because I've got more ideas for these.
Because you say one of a kind, but really the one of a kind aspect is finding a set of something as one of a kind. It's not like, oh, this one piece, I get to do this. Because if you're making a table, you got 4 corners to worry about, for example.
Yep. And our two bolts going to go in each corner, or 4.
Yep.
Then I need to see what inventory I have, to see what design I could come up with, to figure out what additional materials I need. And then once I figure out which additional materials I need, I got to figure out where they're located. And these could be at the bottom of a box of 50,000 other bolts and nuts that have to be dumped, sorted through by hand. And these are filthy. These came out of a power plant, and these are really disgusting. But yeah, we need more of them.
Well, and anyone who is unfamiliar somehow hasn't seen any of the videos and is watching this, like there's a million reference points of you basically walking in these, I don't know, what do you think? Those boxes probably 5 foot tall.
Yep.
And they're just, full of these components, which they look small like that, but those pieces are heavy. Yeah. Like that little piece, I don't know how much that weighs. It's just, it's a bolt, but like some of these other things around here, they don't look like much, and you pick it up and it's probably like a good 60, 70 pounds, like just casually.
I mean, a lot of these 5-gallon buckets could have 100 plus pounds, and the handle will snap, if you're not picking it up gently. So yeah, this is heavy duty stuff, and some of these nuts and bolts are the hardest things to come across. We found a full box of it in Pittsburgh. Never seen one like that. And that box must have weighed 4,000 pounds, and it was only like 3/4 of the way full.
And that Pittsburgh scrapyard is like the biggest one, right? And
it's massive.
Yeah, I mean,
it's massive.
How did you say how big it was? Do we know how big that thing is?
It must have been 40 plus acres. 50 acres.
All I know is the video of you on the blast furnace we're looking out. It is kind of as far as the eye can see, like a little bit. It's nuts.
What was awesome is I was able to share with you guys about what it would be like, the experience, before even getting there. And then seeing you guys witness it firsthand, walking into those steps before climbing 110 feet to the top. I got a picture of all your faces when we first walked in.
I don't like heights that much, so I was walking up there and I'm like, I'm on this copper journey. I got to see up here, but God, damn.
And what's awesome is just...
Yeah. I guess tell me a little bit with that in mind, because you already mentioned the concept of manifestation earlier, and kind of you have the stuff in your mind, and then you fast forward a year, like we basically are now, a little bit less, and kind of like where we were in step one, but in a totally different. We got a lap under our belt. We're in a totally different conversation now, even in the same place.
We met here March, April.
Yeah, I think you said March, and I think that sounds about right to me.
So we've been grinding for 7 months now.
Yeah.
Hard.
Which really isn't that long, honestly.
It isn't, but we've been running.
It feels like it's been years, like actually.
The team that we've put in place has enabled these last 7 months to go in a rapid fashion. And I couldn't have done this alone. This has been the challenge of my life. Putting the business together, that's, easy, kind of second nature for me, but just the mental part of it. I'm an artist now, right? So I've got to be creative. And in order to be creative, you need to be in the right frame of mind to be in that zone and put out the best product possible. And there's no better feeling than having a design come together and being like, that's it. Unfortunately, it happened to me last week at like 10:15 at night. So I didn't fall asleep till like after 2.
You get too excited, right? A little bit. Yeah, worked up.
Yeah, just fine tuning, down to which nuts and bolts are going to be used, the grain of wood, the inlay, everything. So, timing is everything for me. When it comes together at 10 o'clock at night, it's usually problematic. But at the same time, it's the greatest feeling ever.
So with your vision in mind and manifesting stuff, what do you, even before we started rolling, you were kind of telling me a little bit about, you don't have to get specific about accounts, but kind of what it might look like, right? So like now, let's just say the next leg next year when we're sitting down having this kind of conversation, maybe there are several pieces in one place. Maybe there's one piece in a specific place. Like what's like the real...
Oh, so what's on the horizon?
Yeah, like what do you foresee?
All right, so right now we have a few commissions that are in the works. Designs have been completed, sent off to clients. That process just got started. First 2 designs, which is really excited, just going through the process of the initial introduction phone call, finding out what their needs are, and then going back to them with a little presentation, just summarizing everything that's been discussed. We've got a distillery, which is really, really exciting, that I'm going to be co-designing. They want to infuse it with a lot of my work, a lot of the copper accents, and hopefully it opens sometime in May. So the next few months, I will immerse myself into this distillery and making sure that it's one of a kind and just sets the world on fire. Because I've been dreaming about doing a big project like this. I've been accumulating awesome accent pieces for the last year for this.
You've had this forecasted basically because you already, you have an idea, and something like a distillery, I can't think of a better fit really, because you have, and we talked about manufacturing, but in the case of a distillery, you are producing, you're producing liquor, drinks, all this stuff, right in shop, and now you have this kind of historic, hey, these were all pieces in America, like this is all just, this is here, like we are out here kind of making our home base. We're setting a vibe. If you want to come hang out at the distillery, everything from the people to the furniture, you're in good company. And the thought that goes into that really does matter when you're in an environment. You could feel that.
It's going to be a mountain to climb. But again, the final product is going to speak for itself.
Yeah.
And that's just all I keep thinking about. I know it's going to be hell getting there. There's going to be mountains climbed. We've got a lot of people on the team that are bringing this distillery to life.
What do you think's the biggest challenge in that? Is it actually making the pieces? Is it sourcing? I mean, you see right behind you, you got all these extra pieces. I don't know if this is all things where...
No, the hardest part is just doing it very tastefully and just making sure every piece fits. You know, it's a puzzle that we're trying to produce a perfect final product,
Yeah.
which is near impossible to do, but that's what we're striving for.
How much is the actual physical space? Like you walk in and you look at it, does that inspire something? Or is it you already have pieces you would think of that are like, oh no, those would look really good in here? Like how much is it just come together at the moment versus, oh, I've been working on this, I already have this would be perfect in there?
I wouldn't say I have a photographic memory of every piece I have in inventory, but pretty close. So the amount of time that I spend looking at the stuff or just accumulating it and then putting it away in storage, wherever it may be, like I've got a pretty good mental note of what I have. So for me, walking through a space, I could say, all right, this piece would be great here. I got those pieces. You know what I'm, so for me, I could pretty easily walk through a space and just close my eyes and visualize certain things. And that's how it starts, because you put your prime pieces that come to mind right away, and then you fill in the blanks afterwards.
So tell me, I guess with that in mind, your whole starting all this together, you know, I imagine you're probably having the same day a lot of us have when you have a job for a long time or a career you've been working on where everything kind of looks the same and it feels the same. At what point were you going through your usual scrap routine and kind of have that feeling where maybe you are visualizing something? Like, were you already imagining a space with the stuff in it, or were you just kind of seeing a piece like, oh no, that'd be kind of cool to make a furniture? Like, I'm just trying to figure out where exactly.
So I don't need to physically see the space where the piece will go. You know, first is just figuring out the piece. Yeah. Because you make a beautiful piece, a one of a kind, it can go in a lot of different places. So for me, it's, you know, figure out the piece first, and then you'll find the home for it, because it's just so unique and beautiful. I mean, I just moved a lot of stuff out of the art gallery from my show a few weeks back, and I put 3 tables throughout my house. I got one in the living room or the family room. I got one by my office and one in the dining room. And it's almost like they take on like a personality of their own.
Yeah.
Where I could just sit there, and again, it's my piece, so obviously it's a little sentimental to me, but I feel like the end users could sit there at their couch and just stare at these pieces for long periods of time.
I think this is what I like about that concept is, I don't know. I mean, I know who I'm talking to, so I kind of think I know the answer, but just for the sake of, I feel like things have their own kind of energy to them, you know? And then when you start to assemble them, you have this very unique signatured item, right? And it's a presence in a room. So you're talking about some power plant or some server farm that's gotten broken down where you got these pieces. There's a presence to that where it has served a purpose, and now its purpose is to just basically be a fixture in your home. I guess what I'm trying to get at is what you're making does kind of have a personality of its own, I guess. I'm having a hard time really bringing.
Well, it's copper. Yeah. You know, so copper, electric, grounding, like there's more to the metal. It's a special kind of metal.
It was literally metal, like power was going through it.
Electrified.
Energy was traveling through it to generate and send more energy out to everything else. Like it's an actual functional thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was really cool is in one of the last videos, you guys took a picture or featured a piece of copper that was initially disgusting and just unrecognizable. And I used that particular piece in the table that is sitting in my family room, which is just, that's a lot of the fun part for me, is just seeing these beat up, you know, burnt out, disgusting looking pieces of copper that all they need to do is get sanded or hit with a wire brush, and then it's got like a whole new life.
Yeah, forgive the expression. I mean, it's like you get a hobo from the street, you know, you give him a haircut, give him a shower, a shave, put in something nice, and it's a whole other person. But it's at the same time, this is still a guy who's had whole life and all these experiences. It's cool.
It's fun.
It's really cool. I think a lot of people have restoration, and there's all all the reality TV shows where it's
Right.
like, something's being restored or given new life. But this is, to me, a little bit more unique in the sense where it is really custom. These are very custom pieces. This isn't like you're going to mass produce the same piece. It's pretty much once you make one, it's probably, if you found the pieces, you could make more. But otherwise, that's it.
Correct.
That's it.
We're in the one of a kind business.
Yeah, I do want to drive that point home because looking on a screen, it's very easy to see a piece like, oh, I'll go find that here and I'll make this. It's like, okay, buddy, let's just go see you do that then.
Doing it once, okay. Yeah. Over and over, it's. But what we're talking about, we are in the one of a kind business. In the same breath, we're working on something right now for Q1 of next year, rolling out a commercial office line of furniture. We've recently connected with a really talented individual who's, jumping on board with us in a lot of different ways. And we just got our first rendering of a couch.
Couch. I don't think you have not done a couch yet.
Correct. This is news to you.
This is news to me. Sounds heavy.
It is. It's,
Do you build that stuff on site ever? Because I feel like some of these people, I think anything I say is going to sound like understated. Stuff's heavy. Like some of these pieces.
The office line we're going to design. We're going to create renderings, CAD drawings, and I don't know if we're going to build any mock-ups to this point in time. We may just put it out on paper and see what the market says. But I've shared with a couple people the initial design of the couch, and they were just blown away.
I'm pretty excited to see it. I'm excited to sit in it.
They're like, you're doing a couch now? Do you have an upholstery person? I go, yes. We're very, very talented. One of the best.
Well, that's the thing. You got upholstery, you got a carpenter. I mean, over as you're kind of going.
Machine shop. We're the team. I'm a big, big proponent of the team.
And you're talking a lot of these guys, most of their industries, they don't get to really do stuff like this, right? Like a lot of it is very industrial, very kind of straightforward to order, whereas this is more, hey, got a cool project here. This is going to be unique. Do you mind doing this? And honestly, I think everyone you've talked to has been really down to just for the cause.
Right.
They're like, hey, no, that's a cool idea. Go for it. Let's see. Yeah, I could contribute in this way. I think there's something kind of beautiful about that too. Got a lot of people kind of just down to
jump on board.
Yeah.
I mean, my chess pieces have been in the works for the last 5 months, 6 months, and they're going to be done within a week.
What do you think why do you think that is? Do you think it's just you and the personality? Do you think it's the mission? Like, it seems like everyone has been very receptive. You've jumped in industry, and I gotta say, no shade at anyone. I think there's a lot of crankiness and kind of just old air in a lot of your industry. You're talking about scrap. It's the same thing every day. You're moving stuff, pallets of things, and you're melting them, breaking them up. Like, there's really not a lot of excitement there. It's where things go to die.
Right. The team's done an amazing job to this point in time. The last 7 months, we've gone from here to here, and we're just continuing to ascend. And that's attractive to these key players that we're being introduced to that just bring a tremendous amount of value to the mission. And it could be in so many different ways the value they bring, it just collectively makes the team stronger. And that's where the vibration, the frequency that we're putting out is extremely, extremely powerful.
That's true, right? I believe in a lot of that too. It's kind of the airwaves, and us as people, we have an opportunity to impact that really just in how we act, how we feel, how we do things, which I want to ask you this on a little bit more of a personal note as we're kind of on the other half of this thing. I feel like I forget if you mentioned it somewhere along the line. I think you mentioned like on all of your most important days, there's been rain present, right?
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Because I think on a couple days I've been with you where it's really rainy, and usually if James and I are with you doing a video, it's probably a pretty big day. The one that stands out the most is probably the museum,
Right.
where it was like kind of rainy. And did we go to a soccer game after that, or was
yeah.
that was that day, right?
I remember that.
Bro,
That was crazy.
it was a downpour.
Yeah.
Downpour.
We like had to stop on the way to the car because it was so bad.
Under
Behind
like
the
a
wall.
little lip of the school building. And that was just to set the stage a little bit. Museum, we're in New Jersey, a museum in Pennsylvania, which was what was the name of the museum?
The National Museum of Industrial History.
Yeah, and you had all your pieces, basically the gallery set up, attached to all these other very historic pieces. You use a piece from that Bethlehem
Right.
thing into the piece you were making for the flag. And yeah, so we were there early, and then what was it, probably a 2.5 hour drive, whatever, and then we'd come back to the soccer game. Kind of the rain was sort of staying up a little bit, a little drizzly, until eventually just right at the end. I don't know. There's something that kind of stuck with me that day, knowing that information about you. I was like, bro, did we have a moment? Like, was that a moment?
Yeah, but we just got through the gallery.
Yeah.
David's gallery, and it was beautiful out. No rain.
True.
But that's all we were talking about the week leading up. What are we going to do if it rains? We got to get the tarp out.
That would have sucked, actually.
But it was a beautiful day, so maybe we turned over a new leaf.
I don't know. Or, yeah, just a different kind of day either way. I really appreciated that note because, there's going to be a lot of big days, I guess, that come up with stuff like this. The museum was a big one, though, because I think it really was a good example of, like, this is real stuff I'm doing. Yes, this is a museum. And, and there's real history to it. That was kind of a big moment.
That was a really big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to my kids, months and months and months before the museum even came up, about a museum. Not knowing which one, but a museum.
Is that right?
Yeah, when I started researching these bolts that I was using for this one particular table.
So you were like, I'm going to be in a museum. No idea the existence of this museum, really, or not really, at least not thinking about it. It's obscure museum in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. No shade. But like, the average person not going to think about it. So then you didn't really know, you're telling them about it, and then eventually here you are. And that was kind of like, I don't want to say it's early on because you had several pieces built by then, but like, within a half a month, half a year of your business.
It was March, early April. So yeah, we first got together in March, and by like early April, we were finalizing a exhibit show at the museum.
Bro, we barely even talked about the timeline of this stuff. I feel like everything really did happen fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We run. But back to those bolts. Like, I just had a feeling, and I what was I thinking? Okay, so the bolts came from the Reading train terminal in Philly. A big electrical upgrade they did back in 2021. All new switchgear, 2 4,000 amp services. These bolts were all that remained from the scrap that I purchased. So I reach out to my buddy Gregg Epstein. We all know who he is. He's from the Philly area. Do you know anybody at one of the museums? I've got this table. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, one of my best friends. I'll put a text message out. I've known him 40 years. Okay. So I end up connecting with one of his good friends and shared with him my Google Drive. At that point in time, I only had a Google Drive with pictures that were taken at the house to share with people. I didn't have a catalog. I didn't have a website. I didn't have Instagram. I had nothing. And he loved my work, said, this is beautiful, but it's not for my museum. He sits on the board at the Philly Museum of Art. I would try this museum, this place, that place. So I got off the phone with him. I started doing the research, found the right contacts, and I left messages that same day. And then about a week and a half later, I get a call back. I see on the caller ID, National Museum of Industrial History. I say, oh my gosh, this is it. I sit down, get ready for the call, speak to Mike. Hey, how are you? Just getting back to you. I share with him my Google Drive, and he's blown away.
One thing you're very good at, Greg, is you ride the waves. You don't really dilly-dally when it comes to, oh, this connection came up, let me call right now. And that's probably why everything we're talking about, the energy's got movement, manifestation, and like that doesn't work if you sit and let it hang for a little bit. You got to act.
Speed's everything.
Yes.
And people today think they could take however much time they want. And the reality is, you've got that 1% who's running all the time and who will run circles around the people that aren't. It's just the way it is.
I think of it like a relay race. Like, you got to hand that baton off. If that person took off too fast and you're not running the right pace, guess what? You're DQ'd. You never got the baton, or you already lost the race and you waited and you got it and they're already at the finish line.
Every single person, every team member, every piece to the puzzle who's sitting at this table on this journey with us, we run. It's just when we're handing that baton, we're lock and step the whole way. And it's exciting because what we've done in 7 months, wait till you see the next 7 months.
And I actually think what you're doing right now, even for your industry, you never really know. I mean, if you do things right, you get a lot of people kind of like copycat stuff, right? So I think the next time, I won't be surprised if maybe this is me making my call out now, you find someone else who has, before I get this, your situation is very unique, right? Like, you already had connections in scrap. You've already been able, like, not anyone can do what you're doing because you need relationships. You need to be able to have kind of, what do you call it? Be able to walk onto these scrap sites, which come with the relationships, and you got to know what you're looking for, where to look for, because this isn't just copper scrap yards. It's every material scrap yard. So it's like, you kind of have to know. And I think like that stuff is individual, like to you. But that being said, there might be someone else who comes out like, oh yeah, I do this, that, the other thing. But really, this is a movement you start.
At the same time, I'd love to see what other people are creating. I'm not, it's all about me, me, me. I love being on Instagram and looking at sculptors and other really cool stuff that'll give me ideas and trigger things in my head. I don't weld. I want to learn.
Well, that's the other thing. There's difference in what you do. So there's like welding, cutting, and fusing things. And then there's taking what you find, repurposing. And then there's like, something in between. And there is going to be a unique take on that, whether you have the relationships or not. But that first barrier to entry, you got to be able to get in that scrapyard. You got to know what you're looking for. It's a big first step. First couple steps.
So maybe we have a little head start.
A little head start.
Whatever.
That's okay. I mean, that's all you need. We're running. So, yeah, man. What else? What else can I kind of say? Because I really appreciate, I think I said this in the beginning, but just to reiterate, like, because we are kind of at the tail end here. I think it's very cool if you're able to find any passion in your work, let alone something you've been doing for a lot of years. And then the next step of being able to transform what you've been doing over the last years into something that is purely your own. I think that any human on the planet, that's kind of almost the best you could really ask for, right? Find a little bit of passion, a little bit of meaning in what you're doing. I know for me, just as myself, that's all I really want.
Right.
But it's hard. It's hard because you got to make money in the world and you got to do things the right way. But I mean,
hard is putting it lightly.
It is. It's an understatement.
When you're following your passion, when you have your purpose and you have your why, you're in alignment, and it works, and it's pretty wild.
It's wild, largely for me, just with all the other, I know I don't want to say I'm beating a dead horse. To me, it's the most important part of it is this is really just your brainchild. This isn't just something that there wasn't really a roadmap for this. Like, even the idea itself is like, oh yeah, we could restore things, make it whatever, find some stainless steel, whatever. Like, this is, your Dr. Copper. We're dealing with only copper. You're fusing it now with, you just mentioned upholstery, carpentry. Right. Truly a unique monster. And I am pretty excited to have been on the trail with you because I have all this context. No one has this context. You could watch all the videos, you could see all the things you've done, but there's always going to be these points of clarity where it's like, you know, we're one of a kind. Oh, but there's buckets full. But yeah, but that's because whatever. Like there's always like that context that's going to be missing. But this is a great way to kind of fill in the blanks because what you're doing, there's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, and it's like I said, this has been really hard. You know, doubt. You know, it's just like a wave. Like you said, we're riding this wave. You know, that wave of doubt comes in and it just crushes you.
It's inevitable, man.
I had a moment just last Tuesday. The walls were closing in, overwhelmed. Plate turned into a full platter, and I couldn't get a thought. And I was having a moment. Wifey was here, who's been my rock. Superstar. I couldn't have done this without her. And she comes over and she's just like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm just like, this, that. And she's like, stop. The hard part is done. You did the hard part. Everyone thought you were crazy, but they love your stuff. Now just execute.
God bless. If you got your wife saying that stuff to you, man, you're definitely doing something right. Because that's, you know, I know having relationships is a whole other challenge, right? Because you're always going to have people that could be the best people in your life, but they make you think, and it's because everyone cares. So it's like that is the first layer of dealing with, like, I have to second guess this. I have family. I have this. I have that.
That's all I needed to hear from her. That's all I needed to hear. And then guess what? Like 10 minutes later, I got the text message from the designer at the distillery. What's your email address? I need to send over initial ideas. I need your feedback.
That stuff's important because that's
10 minutes later.
Your whole field gets cleared out. So now something comes in and, you know, the opportunities come through. But I think having the weight on your mind and your heart, you know, that stuff can be a barrier, but you've done a good job staying above that. And I think that's why the opportunities present how they present.
Awesome.
Good shit, bro. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you have any more final notes just to kind of while we have the forum, but
exciting stuff on the on like the philanthropy front, which has been a big part of all of this. Just getting a message out to people that, you know, it's okay to not be okay. You're not alone. This day and age, the world is tough, and people have tough days, and they've got stuff on their minds, and you're not alone. Everybody goes through those days. Talk to somebody. You know, just let your voice be heard. There's so much good that's happening. We've got collaborations happening with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which is super exciting. The amount of good that VMD is going to bring to this world is really special.
It's a great mission to have behind your business. Anything where you're able to kind of help people and contribute towards just sort of better things.
I don't like asking people for much. You know, I'll figure it out myself, or my team will figure it out. When it comes to helping the kids or helping others and stuff like that, I have no problem leaning on those people for help.
Yep. Good support system's everything. And a big support system, though, starts with you, starts with me, starts with the individual. You gotta have to feel it if you're gonna get it back.
That's it.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time for this. I do know you actually have been quite busy getting through all this stuff.
We'll be back here for next year.
You better believe it.
Awesome.
All right, bro.
Thank you.